So I'm going to be reading a little bit of an epic here, if I can. If you can read an epic in 10 minutes, I'm going to try. So this is called The Death and Life of the Venus City. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. Don't worry, I'm going to shout. 1. On the confrontation with men and history. The Venus of Willendorf limped from a dirt ocean in 1908 into the hands of one Dr. Joseph Zembathe. She was not meant to worship a god, not meant to God in any woods, any city, any open field. Like a good woman object, she would be used as a channel. The men to fill her fat with seed, avocado, desire, reed music. Either she was a god or she was not a good god. Such holy qualifiers never occurred to draftsmen. Nothing but a vision filled in dark with rock. Nothing but the mimesis of riches. A handsome particular to fill with anthropological myth. Another chance for men to theorize those people. I would like to decline the invitation here to call her a goddess, a fertility goddess no less. Jean Markel wrote about her as the universal great mother, but I thought a woman's age hides in her hands. I'm tired today. Wish only our beautiful women dead and scattered beneath the earth. When a woman is magnificent, don't you dare with the drowsy moniker goddess. Zimbabwe knew no better, and why should he? He's king of every ancient civilization under his sights. Archaeologists who penetrate the hidden layers of creation with their tools, who pick out bombed out Eden, who name these objects to line their kingdoms. Blech. So Western to suck on the world until it's sticky with gospel and dirge. Call the shapely stones unearthed Venus. Let them fly down all witchy and worn. See what I care. I'm not even born. I will grow into an overeducated administrative assistant. I will grow into a small thing on a crowded train who stares at a sick old woman and thinks, at what age does a woman's body become the insult of the woman's body? I will be nobody's wife, just a special someone's car alarm. I will end up calling the Venus of Willendorf my queen, and we will end up fucking under the hood of her legendary cunt until my skin disappears and she stays immortal. It is easy to be guilty of the things we so righteously proclaim. She was found in 1908, a leap year, the same year oil was found in the Middle East. There is no document of civilization that isn't also its ruins. When you ask for nature, you just end up with another incompetent god. 2. How hunger, how horse. At first, the Venus of Willendorf ate a whole epoch of dick. She was hungry and lonely, buried deep in the earth, so obscure for most of her life, she didn't even exist. When finally Zimbabwe found her, it was like biting into a high-voltage battery. Nerves tore her awake. He found her dry-humping shale, the lowest perfuming her form. An unenlightened mind might call this encounter the purest form of love, the kind of love one only finds between man and his newest possession. I knew better in 1708. I knew better in 1908, in 2008, in 2108, that when man finds something this earth-shattering, this monumental, it isn't love he finds, but certainty. To be named, to be language, to be an erect footnote in this small glimpse of existence. I go to work and do not resist gazing at my own reflection in a passing building glass. I worry my hips' steady expansion, the genealogical curse of our women. Don't worry about the heat of passing trucks, that death wish wind. I'm in a windowless office and would slaughter a lamb for just an extra inch of space. The Venus of Willendorf must have lost her taste for cock, must have lost herself the way women lose themselves in the midst of a moor. A woman must always lose herself in the mist, the whatever myth, of a colorblind sky and the beautiful Iceland where hands conceived her. Hands are a touch of information over the tits, the headdress, the neglected sight of her fat, flat ass. I know about being carved. It's a starvation ritual. It's the skin pulling tight around bones. It's the stony pain when sitting on the subway. Carved as the hair falls out, carved as the cuticles yellow and wax, carved when the flesh dares us be bovine and we don't. Her beauty, like an oilcloth trashed on a rainy day, I'll starve it out to wear it like the cloth of a flag, an allegiance founded in the vinegar bruise of an arm. I think of Muybridge's horse, and horse, and horse, and horse. That's the sun in the city, setting, and setting, and setting. 3. That special someone. That's when the people set out to make her, when the world appeared to happen every day. In truth, there was no mystery. There were animals, blades were made, and then there were pelts and meat against the death winds. Survival became a specific kind of boredom, a boredom in which you taste blood in your mouth, nails in your back, sex at the end of your thighs, the body in starvation mode. The kind of boredom millennia later paleontologists would call harsh living conditions. The Venus of Willendorf plopped out of the cranium with unrivaled ceremony. All those cold limbs death would cure. They conceived of a creation. We collected it. We gave it neurological explanation to better map the early hominid brain. The Venus of Willendorf chomped on every frozen nub. She looked into their dying sockets like an oil drum, and here Europe grew as grass over their skulls. Poor them. Journalists approach the Venus of Willendorf with questions every day while she files her nails and thinks the perfect blankness of an equator line. They follow her up the stairs. They ask, but Miss Willendorf, when you were alone all those years, was there a special someone's hand rotting violently to pebbles next to you that gave you strength? Who is your ideal sexual partner? Who are you wearing tonight, Miss Willendorf? And when she turns around, she sucks long and hard on their mics, and the orgasm they share is tremendous. We simply don't know much about empire, do we? 4. Peak shift effect. The Venus of Willendorf and I eat a whole cake in a park on my lunch break. I ask her about our kingdom regularly, and she belches. She breaks a can on her faceless head. She demands half and half. I'm sorry, I can only offer her queenships. She wilds for nothing but calories and sex. The food is decent this year. There's so much decadent trash. I throw up buttercream in a nearby dumpster. I just can't keep up with her appetites. At the bakery, I explain the neurological term peak shift effect to the cashier. She gives me my change. She thanks me for using their catering service. I was 6 when a man first found me, 11 when I first found the Venus in Grandpa Leo's anthology, already a plump and golden girl. I wrote her fan mail in careful words. How many touched you before you touched back? She didn't respond. She just showed up one day years later with a whole crate of plastic wrapped pastries. The lengthy ingredient list said, "Eat up," and we did. The theory of peak shift goes that when man is deprived of those Western God-given rights like potatoes and burgers and shelter, he expresses his deprivation by exaggerating what he lacks. So, hairless, clawless, fangless men make war their legacy. So, a worried people struggling through an ice age may depict their women with fat tits, fat hips, a stupendously warm slit. I spend my whole life sexualized and pinned, only to feed and feed and feed my new stone wife, who asks for nothing but absolute indulgence. At night, I line our bed with styrofoam, straws, marmalade jars. I remind her that we still need to talk about empire and federal laws and whether or not our citizens will respond to our wars with a few heated letters. But delivery is almost here. Yes, the delivery is almost here. 5. Dr. Zimbabwe receives our letters. Without fail, it's me, V, and Zimbabwe engaged in a threesome. It is so easy to maneuver a rock in heat, but the doctor believes his dick the real miracle here. It's raining again. Mid-thrust is the only time V speaks. This time she says, the death and life of great American cities is about negotiating influences and the impressions of citizens. This session will involve a great deal of capitalism. I try to remember the last time I said the word tribe without irony, without taking the length of my history inside me. A city is not a work of art. It does not show our humanity, nor can it represent its own artifacts. She goes on and on this way. Zimbabwe on my shoulders waits to banish us, and all I want is to disappear with V under a bridge, to gaze from below at the wonders of our city. Strangers enter me, and I respond with silence. But V, she's an anti-city. No man can enter her. She was expressed as a vessel without a vessel, hands combed over her breasts. She was designed to be taken in a pocket elsewhere. Isn't that how I will become a wife? Isn't that why I call her Stone Wife? Why I take her with me into the harbor, under the ground, and into the tunnels? Why I feed her my meals and stand over her girdleless and foul? The self-destruction of a city, he says in the midst of an orgasm, the relentless competition of a space until its primary economic function becomes the loss of its function. When the good doctor leaves, I read my queen from the couch to the bed. There is an absence in the room, like a freezer door left open all night, the cold touching even the moon's dead holes. Starvation cools my feet. She calls me corpse feet. I fetch her some cheese. V has a hard time accepting Zimbabwe as anything but a god. I'm sorry so many times mid-worship. 6. In the mood for love. We were out of Netflix and the sun was shining. We both cried all the way through in the mood for love. And now it was time to enter that great city fit for the laziest gods. We were happy. Things between us were becoming less funny. Zimbabwe sent us 500 loose birthday candles the day we announced our engagement. and what we could only determine to be the hoof of an elk fawn. At the botanical gardens, I spied a cluster of snapdragons and thought of my mother letting her car run in the garage during the great blackout of 2003. V needed ice cream, and that's when I wept for the first time over this image. She didn't need this. She needed cream and fudge in a waffle cone. Too many man-made lakes make up gardens. Too many flowers and birds attempt a kind of sick nature. Some people recognize V, strange when they don't really, but they just kept their eyes forward and fixed like good passers-by. At the truck, I asked for a waffle cone for my beautiful fiancé, and the crook leaned forward on his elbows to ask if that'd be all this Wednesday morning. At a certain point, my hair fell out in chunks. Never had I experienced love beyond one little heartbreak, some hairline fracture. I would add it to the great ledger of obscurity and pain. So what if people die? I collect bowls now to collect the dust. V was normalizing to the city's earthling ways, but still couldn't go to a garden without pissing under a rose bush. We would marry next year. Blackbirds started falling dead from the sky. And I'm just going to skip ahead. 9. What doom? The biographer will be here soon to explain why I'm so dressed up, why these jittery pre-wedding feelings. It would be impossible to explain everything. The earth split open and revealed an entire id of early human civilization, desire pivotal in all creation myths, including this one, the one we type placards in museums about. When V broke out of her jail to find me, Amnesty International used V in their campaign to promote their new commitment to paleo rights, or as the various media called it, the Great Mother Project. It all gets quite entangled in chronology and miracles. V is finishing up her veal fillet in the other room. The city is massive, and she is always hungry for something inside it. I'm wearing the shorts I wore every day the summer of 1995, but they are full of holes now and just a small bit more sexual. The sun is just about ready to hurt us, and I bless it for its abilities to stare into every invention with easy rapture. I'm afraid for its heats, as afraid of this nature as I am of the sight of a god sharpening its killing knives in the kitchen sink. V's hunger is as peculiar as a parrot in a branch. I just can't keep up with the trays. They stick to the carpet face down. I told the biographer she would only speak to him if he brought her rice pudding and brought her to orgasm. He asked how she liked tiramisu. I told him the world was ending, but would end with everyone tasting something sweet on their tongues. He won't be asking any more questions of me. Sweet onion perfumes every room of this house. I swear the doom is sweet. Thanks.